Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. I love the new times of Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George. And well, we've had a busy week of football this week. So much so, I've only got one person with me this week. Once again, it is our League One expert and Ipswich Town fanboy who's come back from Cloud 9 to Earth with a little bit of a bump. It's Dan.
Hello, yeah. It was a bit of a bump, but still, I'd say, shall we say on cloud like 6, it's kind of gone down a bit.
Well, Crossroads are -4 goals, so it could be actually cloud 5, really, if you think about it. Think about it in technical terms. Well, we've got plenty coming up showing today, but before we get moving on, better mention the social medias. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at Pitchside Talk, Instagram @talk_pitch, and YouTube Mixcloud at Pitchside Talk if you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, or even last week's show if you missed anything that we talked about last week. Perfectly honest, I've forgotten what we talked about last week, Dan. Perfectly honest, if I have to say so.
It would have been Ipswich, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely.
Project Big Picture and England. Yeah. England were back, so we did that. And a football roundup for once, finally.
Yeah, you didn't lie to our audience.
I don't lie. I never lie. Well, what have we got coming on today's show? We've got plenty much. We've got Ipswich Town. We've got 2 games to talk about, which one's from Saturday and one from Tuesday. Sort of 2 sort of sides of the spectrum. Something really massive happened, and then something really massive happened the other way. That wasn't good for Ipswich. The Premier League was back for another week of football action, and also we have the Champions League. Oh my God, it's back. The Champions League, one of the best European competitions in the world, we can say, before we get scrapped for this new European League thing, and we have to enjoy that because that's absolutely awful. Well, don't
get me started.
Yes, let's not get started on that because that's just a horrible subject to talk about, and we don't want that to happen. We want the Champions League, the Premier League, all of it to work in harmony, but you know what big clubs like. Sometimes they're a little bit greedy, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about Ipswich Town.
Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. Our new times are Fridays 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan as always. And well, before we get talking about Ipswich Town, I better mention our social medias. So Twitter's at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's talk_pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud are Pitchside Talk. And now, Dan, we're going to be talking about Ipswich Town. And this week we had 2 games inside 4 days. God, it's back to those old days, really, the last season.
Yeah, it is. All of them cup games we had in a row. God, what a time that was.
What a time. I went to those games for the cheapest chips, but unfortunately we can't go to games now and we have to pay a tenner to watch it on iFollow. And you had to listen to the home commentary because the setting button broke on my iFollow page. So I had to listen to the home commentary, which is all.
Yeah. That happened to me as well.
Absolutely awful. Well, we're going to talk about the first game. We're just going to do a little quick roundup of this game. So it starts off with a 2-0 victory for Ipswich Town against Acton Stanley on Saturday, thanks to 2 second-half goals from Edwards and Sears. Edwards once again was man of the match for his performance on Saturday. He started on the right, didn't he, Dan, in the first half? Struggled a lot, didn't he?
Yeah, he did start on the right in the first half because that front 3 was kind of all in the wrong position because Judge started up front and then Sears on the left and Edwards on the right, which was a bit weird. But he didn't do great on the right-hand side because we weren't amazing in the first half. But yeah, when he went to the left and Sears through the middle, we were much better. And yeah, he put in a great second half performance.
Yes, you said there, yeah, he switched to the left in the second half. He came alive with his pace and skills, helped to get another goal. But there's some more bad news for Ipswich Town as Lambert confirmed that Kane Jackson was out with an illness, which we now know is COVID-19. And all of us here at Pitch Talk, we want to wish him a speedy recovery. Hope he comes back soon because, you know, he's such a good striker and we miss him a lot. We haven't seen much from him this season, unfortunately, which has been a big shame.
Yeah, it has been a shame. And I think, you know, he came on against Blackpool away for a little bit. But, you know, it'll be good to see him come back. And I hope he has a speedy recovery.
Yes, and also Ollie Hawkins was out as well with a groin strain, which only left Ipswich with one fit striker, which was Freddie Sears, but he was playing on the left, so he's more of a winger really than a striker, if we have to say so ourselves.
Yeah, that's where he likes to be played now. But yeah, Hawkins out. That was a bit of a miss, you know, for the Accrington game. We still won the game, but you know, he's been very good for us so far. You know, he seems like he's fit again because he came on Tuesday.
Yes, that is true. He did come back, so it was a little bit of fake news there and a bit of old news. But Tuesday's game, Ipswich Town's unbeaten start came to an end against Doncaster after they scored 4 goals as Paul Lambert's side did many errors that cost them on the night. I think, Dan, we have to sort of say that what really happened, because it was sort of, I think when we was talking about going into the game, we're looking at this, it's going to be a draw. So it's just first sort of big test of the season against a side that's going to be up there. We know they are. Darren Moore, they were up there last season. But after 14 minutes, they made such a good start, leading 1-0 for an own goal. But it all just went wrong from there, if we have to say so ourselves.
Yeah, it really did. Well, I wouldn't say we controlled the game in the first 15 minutes, but we were definitely in it, and we scored I know it was an own goal, but it was a good build-up play again from us. Good play from Chambers down the right-hand side again. So yeah, it was such a good start, and then from there, as you said, it kind of went all wrong. The 2 goals in the first half, I think, were probably avoidable. I think that was the first Doncaster goal. There was, a lucky deflection off Wilson. To be fair, it was a good finish from their player, but yeah, a lucky deflection. And then the second goal, either someone should have headed that away, or Holy should have come out and got it, because, it was a cross that just went through everyone into the corner, which was very frustrating. And then, yeah, I think until half time they were kind of in control. And then the second half, we were really awful. From the first half, I think we all knew that we were trying to play out the back and it wasn't really working. Holy looked quite nervous on the ball. And Ciala, he's had a good start of the season, but he's still not good on the ball, I don't think. And then in the second half, we tried to do that again, and we paid the price, the third goal, and Ciala brought his man down. No surprise there. And then the fourth goal was really, really awful. Obviously, Dazelle and Holy trying to pass it around them. Holy passed it straight to their player, and they score from it. But yeah, it was a really disappointing performance. Obviously, I was quite angry after the game. There was a lot of people saying that we can't overreact about this, and I kind of agree with it. But I was quite disappointed after the game with that performance. But fair play to Doncaster as well. They came out and had a game plan and set out to play against us, and they knew how to do that. So fair play to them. But yeah, very disappointing performance.
Yes, it was very disappointing. I think I just want to reflect a little bit on the goal change. The second one, that should have been easily cleared. I think, was it Dazelle jumped? He missed it, and looked like there was about 5 players behind him from Ipswich Town. They just all looked at it. They all ball watching, really. And Holy was just rooted to the ground. But there was some costly mistakes, said about the penalty there. Toto bringing his man down. But the fourth one, that's sort of the problem there. They were struggling a lot at the back. We can sort of say that, passing out the back was something Doncaster putting a lot of pressure on. Ipswich weren't sort of booting the ball at that point. I think Ollie Hawkins was on at that point where they had the option to boot the ball up, and they decided just to pass it around. So that's just something that maybe they need to sort of adapt a little bit more. They seem to be stuck in Lambert's sort of new system way of don't change anything. But should they just made a few tactical tweaks to possibly stop those sort of situations happening again and putting it under pressure at the back?
Yeah, I think that's definitely what we need to look into. But I think the thing is, we've been playing Toto and Wilson all season, and they've been doing well. They've been getting clean sheets, but both of them players are not ball-playing centre-backs. And when they're asked to play that, it's not their fault that they can't really do that, because that's not their game. That's not their way of playing. I think they're having to adapt to the way Lambert wants to play, which is quite hard. And obviously, Holy as well, he doesn't look comfortable on the ball. We know his distribution isn't great, but on the ball, he's quite nervous. I think he's a good shot stopper, but I don't think he can really do that type of game. So I don't think we've really got the players that could do that. I think Wolfenden is good at that, but Ciala and Wilson have been keeping clean sheets, so they're not going to lose their positions. It'll be interesting to see who starts against Lincoln on Saturday, because if we're going to play like that, I don't think that these players are suitable for that role. But yeah, I think it was quite frustrating to watch that when Hawkins came on the pitch, as you said, we still tried to play it that way, even though we were 4-1 down. I think that was quite frustrating from us. But yeah, it will definitely be interesting to see who's playing centre back on Saturday.
Yeah, as you sort of said there, centre back, who's going to be in that defence? I said on King's Ann when was on there about Wolfenden. He's fit. We now know he's fit. But the one person says this big thing that Lambert's not happy with him. He's a little bit lazy, according to Lambert, in training. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but that's what Lambert's sort of saying, and Luke Galton sort of saying the opposite on social media, where we had that point a few months ago about that. But should he be playing? He's signed that 4-year deal. I know Toto and Wilson are playing well, and you can't when they're playing well, you can't change that. Should he just be playing for that sort of situation? If we're going to play out the back, he's got to be in that side.
Yeah, he does, and yeah, I think he should be starting especially on Saturday. I think he should be starting. And yeah, if we're going to play that style of football, then we need the players that can do that, obviously. And Wolfenden, I think, is probably best suited to doing that. But then it's difficult for Lambert because obviously he wants to start Nsiala and Wilson, who have had such a good start to the season, but then they're not good at doing what he's asking them to do. So yeah, I reckon it's quite difficult for Lambert. If he thinks that Wolfenden is being lazy in training, then he's not going to start him. So yeah, I'd like to see Wolfenden in there. Obviously, this is quite debated by Ipswich fans at the moment on Twitter, but I'd like to see Wolfenden in there. I'm not the biggest Toto fan, but I can't lie, he's had a good start to the season, but I'd take him out and put Wolfenden in there just to see how we can do with that style of play.
Yes, well, we will have to see. Well, Lambert described the side that we didn't do the basics off the ball, and this might be the little knock that we needed. But with this sort of, Ipswich, they're now unbeaten. They've been beaten in the league, sorry. This little knock, will this sort of help them a little bit? But when last season they had a little knock, that put them off completely.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it put us off completely the wrong way. But I think maybe this loss puts a little bit of pressure away from the players. Obviously, the loss this season has happened earlier than it did last season in the season. So maybe, the unbeaten streak is the pressure. Like it's a lot of pressure to put on the players. They've got to keep winning. So maybe, this will help them bounce back on Saturday. I hope it does because it was a really disappointing performance. So I think that we really need to, bounce back from this. Saturday's a massive game. I think it's probably the biggest game so far this season, because it will really show if this is just a blip or whether it's going to be deja vu and it's going to be the same story as last year. Because it does worry me. The performance on Tuesday does worry me because in the back of our minds, I think last season is still there, and I think that if we drop in confidence like we did last season from the last loss, it's just going to be the same thing again. We've started much better this season than we did last year. The performances have been much better, but there's still that worry in the back of your mind that we're going to drop out, and it's possible. I do think it's possible, but we've just got to keep at it and bounce back from these setbacks. And I think it's going to be a massive test on Saturday to see if we can do that.
Yeah, well, is it a little bit concerning that we are saying this is the first big test of the season against a side in Doncaster who are going to be at least top 10, we say. They're going to be possibly pushing for promotion in the playoffs. It's just struggling once again against the top 10 side, but should fans start to panic a little bit? Is there a little bit of panic setting in? I know you sort of just mentioned there about that, but is there a little bit of panic setting in? Because, the last time they lost last season was on October the 20th against Acton Stanley after ending that 11-game unbeaten streak. They lost on the 20th of October against Doncaster. They've lost so many times on October 20th. It's crazy. I think it's 8 tries. They've won us in 8 tries on October the 20th. Last win was in the 90/91 season, beating Newcastle at home. But does it feel like a little bit of history is repeating itself very slowly, and Saturday is so crucial now to try and break that loop?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we should panic. We've had such a good start to the season, and it was a disappointing performance, but it's the first loss of the season. We were always going to lose. You can't go, the whole season without getting beat unless you're Arsenal in the invincible era. So yeah, it's quite impossible to do that. So I don't think we should panic just yet, but it does put into perspective, I think, the importance of the game on Saturday, because as you said, it's a team that's going to be up there in Doncaster. And, that was a problem last season that we had where we couldn't beat teams that are around us. And that was the frustrating thing from last year. So, to lose against Doncaster does put worry into our minds, I think. But yeah, it just puts into perspective how big the game on Saturday is. But then, you don't want to put pressure on the players. So you've just got to go into it with confidence and see if we can get the win on Saturday and hopefully break that loop, as you said.
Yes, hopefully break that loop. Well, this Saturday, Ipswich Town are away once again at promotion-chasing Lincoln, who comes at third. The last time out, they beat Plymouth 2-0 on Tuesday. Last time Ipswich had the place Lincoln at the Settlebank Stadium, Ipswich were beaten 5-3, if I'm correct?
Yes.
5-3. I've got 5-2 written on my script here, but that's fine. 5-3, which left to a lot of uproar, anger on that day from fans. It's that was the beginning of the end, we can sort of say, for what was to be their chase for the league, for the promotion. They couldn't be a top side in Lincoln, But, there's so much pressure going into this game. Will it just bounce back and prove everybody wrong, or is it just going to be the same old, and the fans just get angry once again?
Yeah, I'm quite nervous about this game because I really want us to bounce back. And, I do think we have the players that can do it. But, Lincoln have had such a good start. They're in the I think they're third now below us. So they've had a really good start. So it's a big game at the start of the season. Obviously, we've had history of Lincoln, the whole FA Cup thing, and then conceding 5 to them last season, which kind of began the downward spiral in November. So yeah, it's going to be a really difficult game, and going away there is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard to predict the score, but I don't know if a draw is something that we'll take, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I guess I'd be okay with a draw at Lincoln, but yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Well then, very interesting opinions there about Ipswich Town and their current situation they're sitting at the moment. Dan's going for a 1-1 draw against Lincoln. What are you guys going to go for? If you want to let us know, tweet us at Pitchside Talk. Be interested to see what you go for. If you're going to go for an Ipswich win, draw or loss, or history just be repeating itself ever so slowly for Ipswich Town. Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Premier League. Another game week went by. Lots of controversial action happened. And there's only one team left unbeaten in the Premier League right now.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Well, welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's our new times, Fridays, 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. And Dan, do you know what time it is?
Is it Premier League time?
It is Premier League time. Yes, the Premier League's back after an international break, kicking off the 5th game week of matches with all 20 teams in action, 28 goals scored over those 10 games. And here are the results from those games. So we start off with the Merseyside derby, which ended a 2-2 draw to Everton and Liverpool. Liverpool are unbeaten now in 23 games against Everton in all competitions. That's the longest run against any side in oppositions in history. Chelsea draws 3-3 with Southampton. We'll get onto that a little bit later on. Piers not very happy. That's why he's not here. He's gone to be a new goalkeeper for Chelsea this week. Man City won 1-0 against Arsenal. Man City are unbeaten now in the last 10 Premier League games against Arsenal. Gosh, that's quite a long run. Newcastle lost 4-1 to Manchester United. Newcastle conceded 4 goals for the first time since Manchester United in 2014, which is quite crazy. Sheffield United and Fulham picked up their first points of the season in a 1-1 draw. The M23 derby ended in a draw in Crystal Palace versus Brighton there in 1-1. Tottenham and West Ham finished 3-3. West Ham are the first side ever in Premier League history to avoid defeat after trailing by 3+ goals in the 81st minute. Absolutely crazy. We'll get onto that in a few moments' time. And Gareth Bale made his second debut for Tottenham since 7 years and 152 days between Spurs appearances. That's the longest drought between clubs' appearances, that is, in Premier League history. Leicester lost 1-0 to Aston Villa. This is, funny enough, this is actually the last game in the Premier League that we had fans at the ground, which is a little bit sad to sort of watch this game, unfortunately. Aston Villa have won the first opening 4 games of the top flight season since the last time they've done it, was the 30/31 season, where they finished second, and they currently sit second at the moment in the Premier League, unbeaten. And Leicester have suffered their first consecutive Premier League consecutive Premier League home defeats. Can't get my words out there. Without scoring since February 2017. West Brom and Burnley, they drawed 0-0, the first 0-0 draw we've had all season in 47 games. The last time that happened in the Premier League was Brighton versus Newcastle, which was 91 days ago, which is quite crazy to think. Wow. The Premier season is actually quite a short gap between the two seasons. And the last game we had was a Monday night win for Wolves against Leeds. That's Leeds' first home defeat since February 2020 against Wigan, ending a 12-game run. Well, Dan, we're starting off with Aston Villa, the only team in the Premier League to remain 100% with a winning record, thanks to Ross Barkley. They're absolutely flying, and it's quite crazy to think that it's only a matter of months ago that they just escaped the relegation battle. They pulled off that brilliant comeback, winning against Arsenal, drawing against West Ham, narrowly missing the relegation, but starting off the campaign in great style, beating Fulham, Sheffield United, Liverpool, and now Leicester. I think we can sort of say that them and Everton are the most improved teams this season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Villa, they've had an absolutely amazing start. I want to say sorry to Aston Villa fans that I put them in the bottom three. I take that back now. But yeah, they've had a fantastic start. Obviously, they've had a really good transfer window. You know, they've made some really smart signings. And what a start they've had. I mean, beating the champions 7-2. What a result. You know, beating Leicester away from home as well. That's not an easy task. So that's a good result as well. So yeah, 4 wins out of 4. Perfect start for them. And you know, they've got a tough game against Leeds tomorrow, but you know, they could go in there and win that as well. So yeah, whether they'll stay there, I don't know. It's obviously going to be difficult to stay there. You know, it's difficult for anyone. So I think it's exciting to wait and see how Villa, you know, do with the squad that they've got. And you know, their squad's a lot similar to what it was last season. So you know, they've just made a few smart additions and had a fantastic start.
Is that where they sort of excelled, we can say, so far this season? They've made smart additions, like you said. You know, they invested in the goalkeeper, which they needed last season after Tom Heaton getting injured. Emi Martin comes in. He's been a brilliant signing. Matty Cash, Ollie Watkins, Barkley, Traore. They have made some smart signings, and they're flying really for the moment for Villa.
Yeah, they are. You know, I think these signings definitely, you know, put some more confidence into the squad because I think, you know, after last season, they just survived. They had that amazing escape at the end. But with the squad that they had at the start of the transfer window, I think it would have been, you know, another relegation battle. But with the players that they brought in, Watkins from Brentford, he's a fantastic player, and I think he suits Aston Villa perfectly. Traore, you know, I don't know much about him. I know he used to play for Chelsea, but I don't really know much about him. But I know he's a good player. You know, bringing in a keeper, smart business as well, and Cash from Forest and Barkley on loan as well. So good signings, and you know they have got some good players as well. Obviously, everyone knows about Grealish. I think Mings is a good player as well. They've got some good players at the back. So I think they have really got a solid squad. And I think when I looked at their squad last year, I thought they were going to stay up, and you know they just did by the skin of their teeth. But you know what a start they've had, and you know with the form that they're on, then it's going to only go further.
I think the main sort of questions about Aston Villa is, will they be able to keep this up? That's now the big question. They're the only team in the Premier League so far to remain unbeaten. Can they keep it up? Will this winning run keep going and going and going?
Well, I think it's gonna end at some point, but I think the big thing is when it will end, because I think if they lose against Leeds coming up, I think, you know, I don't know if they can stick at it. I think if they lose one, then their form will probably dip. But it's just, you know, when that will happen. I think if they can go on, even if they can get draws and go on an unbeaten run, I think that will definitely help them, you know, towards the latter end of the season. So yeah, it's about when they do lose. But, you know, it's going to come. And I don't think they'll stick at, you know, in the top 4 throughout the whole season. You know, it's been quite a mad start to the Premier League season. You know, no one would have predicted Everton and Villa to be in the top 2 come this part of the season. So I think it's going to be difficult for them to stick at it. But, you know, who knows what will happen with them. But I can't see them finishing top 4 this year.
Well, we'll see what happens in that Leeds game, which kicks off in under 3 hours. If you want to listen to what we said about that Leeds game, our match preview, you can go to our Twitter. It's at Pitchside Talk. Some interesting score predictions, I have to say, we predicted. But if you want to watch the game, you have to pay £14.95 for it. I don't think everybody's going to be doing that for this game, unfortunately. But the next game we're moving on to is West Ham. They completed the most epic of comebacks in Premier League history, drawing with Spurs, 3-3 drawing with Spurs, sorry. They were losing 3-0 inside 16 minutes. I think Dave Moyes said that he was expecting a 6 or a 7-0 scoreline. His side dug deep. They didn't collapse, he said, to come back from that. When Moyes wasn't there, West Ham were performing without him. But now he's back. That form is continuing. It looks like all the troubles that the club are having off the pitch with the owners, you know, and the fans want the owners out. There's a lot of, you know, West Ham haven't been performing for years on the pitch, and there's lack of investment and that. But it looks like it's all good on the pitch so far.
Yeah, it does. They've had a really good start as well, and it's really surprising the way that they've started. They didn't have a great transfer window. I don't think their fans were really happy about it. Obviously, they sold Dejan Garner to West Brom, which everyone was really angry about, because you know he's quite a good up and coming player. So you know they didn't have a good transfer window, and everyone expected them to be, you know, down the bottom. You know, there's still time, but you know the start has really helped them. I think, you know, they got confidence in their squad now. But I think under obviously we all said that David Moyes probably wasn't the right choice for West Ham, but they've stuck by him and he's had a good start to the season. So fair play to him. To draw against Tottenham when you're 3-0 down going into the 8th minute, it's a fantastic result for them, and that's going to just keep their morale up, I think.
I have to say that Lanzini strike. Oh,
yeah, what a strike!
That was
fantastic.
There was a thing going around and Nolan showing him the thing that just says just do a Steven Gerrard in the 94th minute, just absolutely smack it and hope it goes in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. But if we said that about David Moyes, is he? I know it's going to sound a bit controversial, but is he the right man for West Ham now? Because he's performing with a squad that not much investment, as you said. Adina Garner went, not much investment at the back. Failed to get James Tarkowski, but they did get Ben Rama from Brentford in the end. They got that signing across the line, but. Is he the right man? He's stabilised West Ham on the pitch, which was a big problem under Pellegrini. It was stable and it went all a bit topsy-turvy. Bilic, they had that same problem again, but he's coming in and just stabilised the club on the pitch and he's getting those results.
Yeah, he is. And, last season, West Ham, they didn't have a good season, and I think maybe his job was under scrutiny, but, this start of the season is definitely going to help him. I do think at the moment he's probably the right man for the job, just in the way that their form is. I think he's had a fantastic start with a squad that isn't probably the best that it could be. They brought Ben Rama in, who's a fantastic player, but they didn't have the transfer window they wanted. So to get the performances that he's getting out of the squad that he has, you've got to give credit to him. He's not my favourite manager in the world. I don't think he's a lot of people's favourite manager in the world, but he's done well so far. Obviously, they've got a really tough game against Man City coming up, so that'll be a big test to see how they could do in that game. But yeah, I think for now, I think they'll stick by him, and I think that's probably the right choice.
Yes, it'd be interesting to see if you can get some points out of that game, because you got some points out of Tottenham, Leicester, and Wolves. It looks like bring on the big teams really at West Ham at the moment. But going on to the losers of this match week of the Premier League, and we start off with Liverpool, who earned a draw in the Merseyside derby, which doesn't sound bad if you think about how well Everton are doing, how bad Liverpool did in the last game. But they will feel unlucky if they lost Virgil van Dijk now to the rest of the season and possibly the start of next season. There is a big rumours that the ACL injury is more bad than the people thought at first, initially from Pickford's tackle. Liverpool felt sort of hard done by that. That wasn't reviewed because of David Cooper was over-assessed with the offside, then the foul after that. Henderson's winner was ruled offside as Mane was apparently offside by a few millimetres. We can't really tell because the freeze frame of what the Premier League provided shows that Mane is actually onside by a few millimetres, but nobody can tell because the angle's not straight, unfortunately, which has led Liverpool to launch inquiry how VAR is used and doesn't make the right decisions. But I think firstly, moving on to Van Dijk, losing him for the rest of the season and possibly the start of next season is absolutely massive for Liverpool, because he started, I think, 94 Premier League games in 95 times he's been at the club. This is huge.
It is massive for Liverpool, and it's going to be an absolutely massive miss. And they've conceded a lot of goals to start the season. I think Liverpool conceded 13, if I'm right.
Yes,
and I think
13.
That's the same as West Brom. I think Fulham have conceded less. So, it's conceded a lot of goals to start the season. So, to miss him at this point, I think is absolutely massive. Obviously, it's going to be Gomez and Matip in the centre-back areas. And I think you said before that we haven't really seen a lot of that partnership. So it'll be interesting to see, how they do. But yeah, Van Dijk, this injury, massive miss. And I think the tackle that Pickford put in, I really don't get how, just because, someone, I think Van Dijk was offside, so it doesn't count. I don't get that. It's foul play. It's a horrendous tackle. It really is. And how they can't review that, I really don't understand. It's a red card every day. If that happens on somewhere else on the pitch, it's a red card. And Richarlison got a red card for a similar tackle later on in the game. So, yeah, it's absolutely mad decision from them not to send Pickford off. And I think Liverpool are going to feel hard done by that. And I think they have every right to see how VAR is being used. Definitely.
I think I'd sort of ask you about VAR. Why is it not sort of look at that? I know Van Dijk's offside. I can accept that he's offside there, but if that like you said, if that happened on anywhere else on the pitch, that's a straight red. And we saw that Richarlison did make that same tackle. He was off. But I sort of saying, like, if the person's offside, it means you can 2-foot him and you'll get away with it because VAR won't look at it because apparently that doesn't count. What?
Yeah,
Stupid, isn't it?
it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, I was watching BT Sport coverage of it, and at half time, they were talking to the referee they got on there, and he was saying it doesn't matter when or where is on the pitch. If someone, you know, puts in a tackle like that or does foul play, you send them off. It doesn't matter if there was an offside. And I think it's ridiculous that just because it was offside, it weren't given. I don't understand how they come to that. You know, VAR should, you know, they obviously checked to see if it was offside, and it was, and then the tackle came in, and they just kind of, I don't know if they didn't see it or they just ignored it. I don't really understand why they wouldn't look at that and tell the ref that it's a red card, or at least tell him that there's been a bad tackle and you need to look at the screen on the side. You know, I just don't get it. VAR is so inconsistent, and it's just frustrating me now. And obviously, you know, there was more controversy with it later on in the game as well.
Yes, there was a little more controversy, but we won't get on to that. And we'll move on to the second losers of this week. Chelsea, for the second time this season, they're thrown away points from a leading position against Southampton. I think they were winning 2-1 at one point, and it's finished 3-3. Lampard leaving it quite disappointed and frustrated once again that more defensive errors have cost his side. It's just the same problem once again at Chelsea, really. I know Kepa was in goal because Edouard Mendy was out with a thigh problem, but it wasn't all his fault for once, I think we can sort of say. I think the second goal was, but the others weren't. They were all defensive errors.
Yeah, they were. Finally, it wasn't Kepa's fault, which we haven't said for a while when he's been starting. But yeah, there's more defensive errors, and I think if you're a Chelsea fan, you'll be quite worried by that because, you know, they brought in Chilwell, they brought in Thiago Silva, and they thought that maybe they'd, you know, sealed that defence up a little bit. But to still see these defensive mistakes, I think it's quite worrying. And it's been quite a, you know, topsy-turvy start to the season with Chelsea. They've looked good at times, but then, you know, mistakes. They drew 3-3 against West Brom, which is a poor result, you know, and then, you know, leading against Southampton and still drawing it, it's a poor result as well. So I think, you know, they need to sort out these defensive mistakes. Obviously, that was their problem last year. They still had a decent season last year, and Lampard got them into the top four. But, you know, I think this, if they are going to have a you know, a season like this where they keep drawing and losing games, I think defensively is going to be their biggest problem, because I think elsewhere on the pitch they're fine. I think attacking wise they're okay. Midfield is okay as well. So they've got to shore up that defence a little bit. And, you know, I think them bringing them in signings and still making these defensive mistakes is quite worrying.
Yes, it is a little bit worried. Well, we're going to be looking now at the Premier League table after those results from game week 5. And starting off with 20th, we have Fulham, who sits on currently 1 point, with Sheffield United sitting on 1 point and Burnley sitting on 1 point as well in 18th. So everybody's now off the mark. We have no more 0 points. We now have everybody on 1 point at least. 17th, West Brom on 2 points. 16th is Brighton on 4. Manchester United is still 15th with 6 points. Crystal Palace are on 17th and 14th. 13th is Newcastle on 7. Southampton are 12th with 7. Man City went up to 11th on 7 points. Leeds are down to 10th on 7 points. And 9th is West Ham on 7 points. There's quite a lot of 7 points really at the moment in the Premier League. It's just the 7-point Premier League. That's what we should call it from now on. And 9th we have, 9th. 8th we have Chelsea sitting on 8 points. Tottenham 7th on 8 points. Wolves jumped from 15th to 6th, now on 9 points. Arsenal are down to 5th on 9 points. And 4th we have the top 4 is Leicester on 9. 3rd is Liverpool on 10. Aston Villa on 12 points, sitting in 2nd. And Everton still lead the Premier League away on 13 points. Well, that is your Premier League roundup. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Champions League. It's back. After 58 days, the best competition in the world is back.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Well, welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IRAges, our New Times Fridays, 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan. And Dan, do you hear that noise?
No, I don't.
No, you don't? Well, listen again. Yes, it is the Champions League theme. The Champions League is back after 58 days. Bayern Munich, after they lifted the trophy in Portugal. The new season kicked off on Tuesday and Wednesday with 32 teams battling it out for the trophy this season. And we have 4 English teams in the competition this season. Not 5, we have 4. We have Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City and Manchester United battling out for the Champions League, and we'll see how they got on. So Chelsea started off life in Group E with a draw and a clean sheet against Seville, the current Europa League winners. Frank Lampard praising Eduardo Mendy, who was back in goal for Chelsea, showing off his quality and establishing himself as Chelsea number 1, as Frank Lampard confirmed in an interview. He's doing everything right. So yes, he is the number 1 now. Lampard, despite getting 1 point, Lampard was still very happy with the results, getting a clean sheet against a top team in Europe. And Manchester United started off life in Group H with 3 points against last year's finest PSG, thanks to Marcus Rashford's late heroics, like he did 18 months ago. Solskjaer describing this win, the one better than the one in 2019, which saw the famous lines of just put the contract on the table and give him what he wants. Ollie's at the wheel, and rubbing of the hands, which has now become such a famous meme. And moving on to Wednesday's games for the English sides, Liverpool were helped by an own goal from Tagliafico to get off to a winning start against Ajax. This is Liverpool's first away victory in the Champions League with a clean sheet since Red Bull Salzburg in the 10th of December 2020. Klopp describing the victory, it was good enough to win the game, and that's what you need, especially without Van Dijk and Fabinho coming at the back. It all went all well for them, and Man City made a good start to life in Group C, I want to say. Let me just quickly check because I can't actually remember what group they're in. Yes, Group C. After research on the go. I'm very good down here. Don't you worry about it. They're trying to win the Champions League. They got off to a good start thanks to goals from Aguero, Gundogan, and Fabian Torres on his Champions League debut for Man City. But Man City suffered some big, bad news. Fernandinho is going to be out to 4 to 6 weeks with an injury, a leg injury, leading Pep to be moaning about the busy schedule and the packed schedule once again. But Pep, don't you worry about it. You've got a squad that's worth about £500 million, so don't worry about it. You'll be fine at the end of the day. But Dan, all the English teams got off to a good start for once.
Yeah, they have, which is good. Obviously, was it 2 seasons ago now? We had 4 English teams in the finals in Europe, which were good memories. But yeah, a good start for the English clubs, which is good. Obviously, still a long way to go, but let's hope that an English club can be in the final come the end of it.
Yes, let's hope. But I just want to start about Chelsea. A good result. First time we've had a clean sheet in a long, long while. And, Eduardo Mendy established himself now as that number 1 goalkeeper. It looks like things are sort of starting to come together for Chelsea a little bit. It's just got to get that end product now.
Yeah, and, it's definitely a good result considering the mistakes that happened on Saturday. So, was it Saturday? I can't remember. But yes, against Southampton anyway. So yeah, to get a clean sheet against Sevilla is good. They're a good side. Obviously, just won the Europa League. So that's a good way to start the Champions League campaign. And obviously, the 2 other teams in the group probably winnable games as well. So I reckon they'll be pleased with that. Obviously, Mendy, he's his first clean sheet for Chelsea. So yeah, good start for him as well, and he'll be number 1 keeper now, which is good news for them. So yeah, good result. Good result.
Manchester United, they've got off that dream start. They beat PSG, the last season's finalist. Can they keep this up? They're in a tough group. They've got Istanbul, Bashara, I think that's how you say it, and they've got RB Leipzig as well, who they play next. Can they keep that running form going, or will it just come crashing down like their Premier League season is at the moment? It's a bit hit and miss.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether they can keep this form up, because I think these 2 wins are quite important for them against Newcastle and PSG. Obviously, they had a poor start to the season, so to get these 2 wins, I reckon might get them on the run. But yeah, in the Champions League, obviously Leipzig, they're a good team. It'll be a tough game against them. I think they'll be favourites against Istanbul, but it'll be interesting to see how they do against Leipzig. But I don't know. I think beating PSG, that's a good start to the group. So I think they'll be fine. I think they'll get through the group relatively fine. Good start, a good win for them at PSG. So let's see if they can get points against Leipzig and see how they go.
Yes, Liverpool, the next team, got a bit of luck. They won the game via a very lucky own goal. I think Mane scuffed the shot. I think it was going off for a throw-in, perfectly honest. How scuffed the shot was, but it went in. You need a bit of luck in the Champions League, and they got some for once. But as we can sort of say defensively, they look pretty solid.
And considering, Van Dijk's injury, that's a good sign. They did look solid, obviously clean sheet as well. And I'd probably say against the toughest team in the group. Obviously, Atalanta had a good underdog story last season, but I think that Ajax were probably the toughest opponents in the group. So yeah, good result and a 1-0 win and a clean sheet. Maybe not the most, best looking performance. We know how Liverpool can play, but it's still a win. Still 3 points on the board and a clean sheet. So yeah, great start for Liverpool as well.
Yes, and next we have Man City getting off to that winning start, what they need. But this is sort of the new Man City. We need to see them get past the quarterfinals to sort of consider it a good Champions League campaign. They've been trying to win this Champions League for so long now, but it looks like things are sort of lined in front of them now. They've got a good start. Injuries is one big problem for Pep. Fernandinho added to that list. Is this going to make this Champions League campaign a little bit harder for them, especially in a little bit of a tough group? They'll get Marseille next away from home and Olympiacos soon, who won against Marseille, but it's a bit tough for Pep at the moment.
Yeah, it does look tough for him. Obviously, injuries are a big problem. I know he's been moaning about the schedule. Try coming to play for Ipswich, where you got to play Saturday, Tuesday, and we have about 500 injuries. So yeah, stop moaning about it. So yeah, obviously a good start for him, good win. Obviously he's had they've had quite a tough start to the season. I think are they 11th? I think they are.
11th.
I know, yeah. So yeah, quite a tough start for them in the league. But I think they could maybe push on for this win against Porto and try and cement themselves in the quarter. I think getting past the quarterfinals is probably they'll definitely be wanting to do that. Obviously, it's hard to get to that point, but I think Man City are good enough to do it. Obviously, Bayern Munich got off a fantastic start against Atletico Madrid, winning 4-0, so they're definitely favourites to win the Champions League, I'd say. But Man City just need to keep going and try and get past the quarterfinals at least this time. Otherwise, it's probably not going to be a great season for them. Let's hope that they can push on in the league as well.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see. Well, we won't have to wait long to see because next week's Champions League match back on the 27th and the 20th of October. So only next week with Man City away to Marseille, Liverpool home to Midtjylland, Chelsea away in Russia to Krasnodar, I think that's how I want to say it, and Manchester United at home to RB Leipzig on the Wednesday the 28th. So we won't have long to wait and see. But when we come back, Dan, we might try and do a little bit of football roundup if we have enough extra time to do it. We will have to wait and see.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Well, welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio on a new time of Friday to 5 p.m. And Dan, guess what?
What?
We have a little bit of extra time. We could do a football roundup for once.
Hooray!
Hey, and we're going to start off with the Champions League back again, and Real Madrid were beaten 3-2 by Shakhtar Donetsk. This is major because Shakhtar Donetsk were winning 3-0 in the 42nd minute. And the big news is for Shakhtar Donetsk, they had 13 first-team members out who need to self-isolate after positive tests. And that is to draft in some youth team players, and they beat Real Madrid, one of the favourites of the competition. Zidane has taken responsibility for that bad night he has called. So he's taking responsibility for that. As you said, their Bayern Munich got off to a winning start, beating Atletico Madrid 4-0. I think that's funny enough, Luis Suarez's last game for Barcelona was against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. They lost 8-2. His first game for Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, he loses 4-0 to Bayern Munich. So he's sort of not got a good record against Bayern Munich at this moment of time. And that is everything for the football roundup. Just a quick little one-up today before the referee blows his whistle for full time. Well, Dan, we're at the end of the show. We're actually on time for once. This is a bit of a miracle. Will you be with me next week, as always, talking about Ipswich Town? And we hope, touch wood, they will be winning against Lincoln and also another game against Gillingham. 2 more back-to-back games. This is good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good fun. Can't wait to be back next week to talk about the 6 points. That's what it'll be.
The 6 points. Oh, he's getting confident here. Oh,
nah.
I like it when you get confident because we get a good feisty reaction next week. I'll remind you about it. Well, that is everything for today's show. Before I forget to mention, if you want to follow us on any of our social medias, please do. Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram _pitch, and YouTube and Mixcloud are both Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to this show or in any of our previous shows, please do, because why not? Let's do it. You've got a spare half an hour on you. Have a listen. See what you think. Well, I've been George this week. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
Yeah.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.